Well, what do you know? We're here to talk with you again today on EWTN Radio. Jerry Escher, Debbie Georgiani. We're waving at those of you watching on Facebook Live and on YouTube and on our affiliates from coast to coast and actually around the world, Sirius Satellite Radio. Along with Debbie Georgiani, I'm Jerry Escher. Here we are in the studios at EWTN once again today.
This is so exciting. I actually really love this. The whole entire studio, it's just has a different feel to it than my back bedroom of my home that I've turned into a studio. Right?
It does, yeah. Sort of feels official, you know?
Right.
Like, hey,
we've made it. It's Friday.
It's Friday, yeah. We thank Rich Jesse, who's behind the glass there, and Jeff Burson. Matt Gubensky is the one you're going to talk to when you call right now at 833-288-EWTN, 833-288-EWTN. And Debbie, you are dressed very nicely today, as always.
Thank you. Thank you. And you are as well. Were you fishing for a compliment? Is that what you were doing?
No, I was lobbing you a softball to set up today's discussion topic.
Okay. So, now Rich just said, don't I look nice? Rich, you always dress very professionally. Thank you so much. That's our producer. Okay. Yes, Jerry is correct. Today's topic is dressing for success. That's what we want to talk about today on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. When you may think to yourself, well, what does this have to do with our spirituality and our faith walk? It has a lot to do with it. You'll see by the end of the show. I like to almost call it too, and we can weave in right at the very beginning, dressing for spiritual success as well. You know, there's the worldly success, going out there and being professional and stuff like that, and being appropriately dressed. And then there's also that one added step up where you want to also dress for spiritual success as well. We're talking about that today on Take Two. So, like Jerry said, he gave the number out. I'm gonna say it again. Please start calling. We do not like to leave you on the line, and we like to process and have you on the air as quick as possible. We don't want you waiting too long. But here's the cool thing about it, Jerry. When our listeners call in, they can listen live. So they're not missing a thing, and they can just jump right in seamlessly into the discussion. It's really quite fun. 1-833-288-EWTN.
Yeah, and what we really want your takes and your wisdom, your insights, even your life experiences on today. And if you've lived any length of time, you've seen changes, you've seen transformations, basically in the way we dress. And what kind of got this idea prompted was, you know, we think back to a time when, well, for example, today, if you go to a baseball game or a football game or a sporting event, I know I would be in shorts and a T-shirt and tennis shoes, and everybody around me would be as well. And Debbie, there was a time when, say, a Major League Baseball park, all the men would have suits and ties and hats on, and the ladies would be in dresses. So even with social, cultural events, there's been a shift, but also in the workplace. You know, there was a time when, you know, virtually any work environment required, if not a suit and tie, certainly maybe a coat or something. And now you see major corporations, the high techs, the Apples, the Googles, you know, their CEOs come out,
shirts.
at their splashy annual, gatherings of shareholders and product announcements, and they're wearing tattered jeans and a wrinkled T-shirt. So, I mean, we want to talk about all of this, you know. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it indifferent? And then, of course, is the question of dressing, you know, for mass as well, you know. So
yes, absolutely. I think sometimes, Jerry, in today's world, we've opted for this idea of being a cool dresser instead of an appropriate dresser. And what I mean by that is I think that when you're talking about the tattered jeans and everything, I know, too, we've talked about this before, Jerry. One of the things that you despise is those jeans that have the holes at the knees and stuff.
Pre-torn.
Pre-cut. And they are supposedly the coolest, hottest things right now, and people pay a lot of money for them. And it's very interesting how we have opted for that. Now, I personally believe sometimes we dress like that for some kind of social acceptance, for some kind of, you know, that we all want it. We all have that kind of innately in us that we want to feel accepted and be, you know, cool, I guess. And so we opt for that. When I personally believe more appropriate dress for every occasion is the right way to go, because I think we've lost a lot of the dignity and respect for people when it's kind of like a free-for-all with dress. And the reason why I say that, Jerry, is because I live in Arizona, as you know, and our listeners know, and I actually went to a wedding one time, and this is no joke. A couple showed up in shorts and flip-flops because it was 115 degrees to the wedding.
Yeah,
now, and I mean, to me, something just seemed weird about that. I mean, we were all sweating, but we were all dressed in suits and dresses and everything. And I just thought it was strange. But their reasoning was, it's hot. This is Arizona. I mean, is that acceptable? I don't know. I'm interested what our listeners have to say.
All right, once again, phone lines are open right now, but they do fill up fast on Take Two. It's 833-288-EWTN. Those last four digits are 3986. 833-288-3986. And again, maybe you are somebody who has lived for 50, 60, 70 years, and you've seen these transitions. Maybe you had your work career and you had these requirements of how you were supposed to dress, and now you see people going to work, like we say, just kind of looking like bums in some cases,
Like they just rolled out of bed sometimes.
Yeah. And again, there's the question of dress for mass and what's appropriate and what's not. And again, what does this say about us, our respect for others? You made that point, Debbie. I think this really touches upon our faith and upon virtue and, our own personal character. What do we think of others? And,
right.
Are we willing to dress appropriately in certain environments out of respect for other people?
That's true. Right. And we're, being temples of the Holy Spirit too. I've often, a lot of people have said to me, I actually dress very conservatively, always have, even as a small child. I think I own, very few, kind of fancy, if you will, with the bling on them, outfits. I'm a very conservative dresser. And I've had people say to me sometimes, why do you dress like that? It's kind of boring. But for me, I feel the most appropriate. I can do what I think God wants me to do and be that person out there when I'm dressed like that. When I'm dressed more, with any kind of suggestive undertones or anything like that, I don't feel comfortable. I just don't. So I'm that's just me. Modesty was always that way, even as a small child. And I've learned, Jerry, I will tell you, I've learned to avoid listening to peers that have kind of suggested I maybe update myself or update my wardrobe. But I'm really kind of happy. I'm comfortable. So, I mean, and I think you are as well, Jared. But I think it's taken our age and, life experience and maturity to just say, we're comfortable, in our skin. And I think that's a good thing. So we want to hear from you. We're talking about dressing for success and how kind of the dress codes have changed over the years, or maybe there isn't even a dress code. And let's talk about it. You'll see by the end of the show how it really does help us look at something a little differently. Maybe even we get a little bit closer to God. Here's the number, 1-833-288-EWTN.
Maybe you found yourself in an environment where you felt like you needed to dress a certain way, and like Debbie had that experience at that wedding, and maybe you've seen somebody attending or participating, and you just kind of went, wow, they don't get it. Or, maybe their mindset is just different than yours is or was. Or if maybe you're a younger person, millennials,
Yeah.
Debbie certainly have, I think there are different expectations, if you will, for example, like I say in the workplace. And I would say for me, for example, I would have a hard time. It's just the way I am. I would have a hard time working in a job where I had to wear a suit and tie every day.
Because you don't feel comfortable in one?
I don't mind wearing them, but I just find, I think a lot of these, like I mentioned, these kind of the high tech, sort of Silicon Valley, attitude is the way I put it. I think they sort of want to foster free thinking and creativity and sort of being yourself, you know.
Right.
And so maybe they loosen up the dress standards a little bit for that reason. So I'd love to hear from people who are kind of in the workforce right now, and what the expectations are of you, and how comfortable you are with that.
Okay, here's the number. Lines are filling up. This is time for you to get in on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. We are titled the show, How Have Your Dress Habits Changed Over the Years? So we want to hear from you. Remember, you carry all the wisdom. 1-833-288-EWTN. We're going to take this short break, and when we come back, we're going to Madison, who's got our First Up Award. Hold on, Madison. We're coming to you.
Dr. Ray Gurendi.
Be grateful that you came to the faith when you did. Let the children see what mom is like now compared to how they were raised before mom or dad came to the faith.
The leading Catholic voices are on EWTN Radio.
What's stopping you from becoming a Catholic?
Why can't women become priests?
I don't understand why I have to earn salvation.
How is it possible that God created everything?
Why do I need to confess my sins to a priest?
Why is the Catholic Church so unwilling to
The Catholic Church is too rich.
Catholics worship Mary and are committed.
As far as I'm concerned, all religions are equal.
You are called to communion with Dr. David Anders. Today, 2 p.m. Eastern, on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
Podcasting is an easy way to automatically receive your favorite EWTN programs on your mobile device. Visit EWTN.com/podcast and enjoy your favorite EWTN shows on your mobile phone right now.
Christ is the answer, with Father John Riccardo.
First passage comes from Mark 2, beginning in verse 1. So he's gone back to his hometown now, or the town where he's making his home, Capharnaum. And it says, after he returned to Capharnaum after some days, it was reported that he was at home. And many were gathered together so that there was no longer room for them. And he was preaching the word to them. And the whole town's there. And they came to him, some people, bringing to him a paralytic carried by 4 men. So they removed the roof above him, and when they made an opening, they let down the pallet on which the paralytic lay. But Jesus doesn't heal him. Jesus says to him, I forgive you. Which we may not be all that shocked by, but the crowd is irate over, particularly the Pharisees, who say to him, why does this man speak thus? It's blasphemy. Who can forgive sins but God alone? Somehow Jesus, in saying this, is communicating not just to the man, but to everybody, indeed to all of us who hear it, that he was somehow offended in the person's sins, and he also has the authority and the power to forgive them.
It's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, and you are the ones who drive the show. And the number again is 833-288-EWTN. The reason Debbie and I are in studio at EWTN in Irondale, the Birmingham area, is Debbie, we get off the air and we jump in a car and we're heading to St. Bernard Abbey in Cullman, Alabama.
We're so excited. And all the retreatants are coming in by plane and driving, and they're coming as far as Canada, as far away from as Canada, and driving in and just excited. And we're going to spend the weekend for the first of, we hope and pray, of many Stand Tall retreats. Please, Take Two family, pray for all of us, and please pray that Saturday's weather we just need a little bit of sunshine. Just if we can handle that, it'll be perfect. Just how about this? Just pray for no rain.
that would
right,
be, yeah.
There you go. But it's going to be. It's already been fabulous. We started preparing for it and praying a week ago. That all the retreatants did, and I'll tell you what, that makes a big difference when you pray and prepare ahead of time. So awesome. Can't wait.
We'll have an update on Monday, too.
Oh, yeah, we get to share.
All right, we're talking today about dressing, dress codes, dress etiquette, manners at work, in mass, socially. If you're going to a ball game, is it okay to wear a tank top and flip-flops and your backward hat and all that kind of stuff? So we're going to hear from Madison first, driving through Georgia, listening on St. Paul Radio. Madison, you're up today. Get our First Up award on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Hi, Madison.
Hi, Jerry. Hi, Debbie. Thank you for having me on.
Sure
I'm actually on my way to Coleman.
Oh,
on
great.
I-20.
Great.
Fantastic. Are you joining us, Madison?
This evening.
Oh.
I am joining you. So I'm picking up my mom in Atlanta, and then I'll be we'll be on our way from there.
Wow, Madison, we can't wait to see you. This is so cool that you're calling in, too. So obviously this topic really hits home with you.
Well, it's actually pretty interesting. It does in a bunch of different ways, but what I've been struggling with now. So I'm actually 14 and a half weeks pregnant and starting to need maternity clothes. And as I'm an attorney, I'm a prosecutor, so we wear suits every single day at work.
Right.
And trying to shop for professional clothing that maternity wear has been very, very difficult. Mm-hmm. There's very little out there. Everything that's out there is very casual or too showy or too tight, and I just don't necessarily feel comfortable with that. I try to dress pretty modestly and, want to portray that coming from myself, and it's not been easy. And been a bit of a surprise and a shock that it's been so hard to try and find maternity clothes out there. Mm-hmm. And you would think that, you really want to glorify a woman when she's pregnant, but it's been more difficult than I would have expected.
Madison, can we ask a question? Are you, I guess I should see here, you can tell I went to Catholic school. Are you allowed to wear slacks and a jacket as an attorney, or do you have to wear skirts, or what's the protocol?
We're allowed to wear pants, we're allowed to wear dresses, we're allowed to wear skirts, so as long as we have our jacket for when we go to court and things.
Right.
But it's even finding professional maternity pants nowadays, because everything has to be a skinny cut and somewhat and very tapered, almost that looks like a legging, which for work is extremely not appropriate.
Right. Well, can I
so
suggest?
Very interesting.
Right. I want to suggest something to you. That my girlfriend did this when she was pregnant, because this surprises me in this day and age that it's still hard to get maternity clothes. Because it was really hard when I was working in the hospitality industry in 1989 to 96. We couldn't get anything. People started making them at home. You couldn't. It was so difficult. We ordered them online. They never fit right. So it's surprising that you're still having people are still having this issue today. But I will tell you, my girlfriend was very, very creative, and this is how she did it. She got just a few outfits, just a couple that fit well, that she could grow into as your tummy was growing, and she changed out her jackets, her jewelry, and her scarves, and so she basically wore the same outfit every single day, but the accessories were different, so it looked like a different outfit. It was absolutely brilliant. And I actually use that method, and I'm not pregnant, so I just use it because I think it's brilliant. And so I don't know if you've thought of that, but it was absolutely brilliant. No one ever knew she was basically wearing the same clothes every day.
That's good to.
There you
that's
go.
Something I had thought a little bit about, but I was just like, where are all the clothes?
I know.
There's 20 million T-shirts and shorts and casual things,
right?
And, but nothing that is really professional, and it's difficult.
Well, Madison, I'm
there's
sure
so many choices out there for other things. So
I'm sure you've heard this phrase before. Necessity is the mother of invention, and maybe this is an opportunity for you to create a line of maternity clothes that
Christian
are respectful
clothes.
and professional. Yeah, who knows?
We like it. This is pretty cool. And congratulations.
Yeah.
Is this your first
Thank
baby?
you.
Is this the first baby?
So it's my third pregnancy, but
Okay.
this is the first baby that I've carried this far. So
Beautiful.
very exciting.
So we've got the youngest child on retreat.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
We have the only child on retreat.
Yeah.
Is there anybody else? We don't know if there's anybody else pregnant. Is there anybody else coming?
Well, there's no other kids coming,
Right.
so yeah. But this,
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, congratulations, Madison. We're going to pray that this God blesses you with this pregnancy. It sounds like you've you had some unfortunate couple of times there, but may this one be happy and healthy and holy and bring great joy to your entire family.
Thank you very much. And I'll see you both later today. Thank you for all your prayers.
Okay.
Sounds good. Safe
Looking
driving.
Forward. Yeah, looking forward to seeing you.
Coming in through Georgia. That's
Yep.
awesome. Can't wait to see her. Okay, next up is Amanda in Tampa, Florida, listening on the EWTN app. Hi, Amanda. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hello.
Hi, darling. Good to hear you.
Oh, thanks so much. It's good to hear you guys too. I hope my parents still make it to the retreat. My dad was looking for a job, and his prayers were answered. He got an amazing job.
Wow.
So he got it yesterday. Yeah, it's such a surprise. Thank you so much for all your prayers.
Oh, yeah, for
wow.
sure.
That must make
That's
your
great
mom
news.
so happy, because I spoke to your mom. That must make them so happy.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, then we'll still hold it open. Wow, that's amazing, Amanda. This is see, the prayers work. Power of prayers. Thank you, Jesus. Wow.
Amen.
Well, sweetheart, so what do you think about this topic? I know you always have such great wisdom to share with our listeners.
Well, well, my grandma, my mom's mom, she was a saint. She was a Franciscan, and she is from Puerto Rico, and she raised like 30 children on her own, because my mom's dad died when she was very young, when she was 7, because he would smoke cigarettes, and that was normal back then. And she would always say she had so many wonderful life lessons, and she was always kind to everybody, and from the heart. And she would always say to always wear your best for church, and like your new clothes and just like the best. And that just really came into my heart, because, you know, I don't go, being young, I don't go to out clubbing or as much as I would wish. Actually, I don't wish out. But, you know, like go out with friends and get all dressed. And I just take that time to get all dressed and pampered for Jesus, and to look my best to present myself to God. And I went to a church gathering once, and it wasn't inside the holy church. It was outside, and I think that maybe baby boomers need to exercise compassion towards millennials and generations younger, because they weren't necessarily jeans, they were just like nice, like tight pants, and they had some slits on the top of the knee, and I don't think it looked that bad. Then this woman from church, she's like, "What's wrong with you?" And like my mom too, she's like, she's just asking, you know, what's wrong with you, because you have cuts in your pants. And I was like, does it really look that bad? Like, I don't think I'm not stupid, and maybe I need to watch out, like, how I buy my clothes. But I don't think that wearing tight clothes to church and jeans to church is totally wrong, and like high heels and showing your stomach or your breast. You know, have respect for Jesus, and I wouldn't, you know, wear that to church, really.
Well, Amanda, let me offer a thought here, because you're making a good point, and the point that I'm hearing come out, Debbie, is, you know, we've got generational differences, certainly, and cultural trend. I mean, so many things are different today, and I think what it gets down to is simply, you know, an understanding of reverence and respect, which I think maybe is missing. I don't want to say it's missing. It's just imparted a little bit differently, or perhaps maybe not imparted at all in some cases to young people within the families today. We have, you know, even the family itself is not what it once was.
Right.
You know, you'd have a family get together, and the parents would all dress the youngest kids up in a suit and a tie and dresses and all this.
Yeah.
And now with the state of the family and the culture and the peer pressure and, you know, education and all of this stuff, I think Amanda makes a good point. You know, if we see maybe, you know, especially young people dressing the way we might not have them dress, give them the benefit of the doubt. You know, if they're in church, that in itself is a good thing. But maybe if and when an opportunity presents itself for that catechesis or that education, you know, just imparting to them a little bit of, you know, a seed that, hey, you know, this is a different environment than, say, school or when you're going out with your friends at night or something, and just try and get them to see the importance of, you know, who it is that we're going to worship at Mass and when we go to church.
Right. So you make a really good point, though. I think you're also trying to state too that, I mean, we can't just assume that it's a total lack of respect, or, you know, it's just
malice. It's not. Yeah, you can't assume.
Right.
Yeah.
So I like that, because
ignorance, maybe.
Yeah. Or absolutely, it could be. Yeah, but here's the thing, Jerry. I love the just having the conversation. That's the thing. Sometimes I think different. different generations have a difficult time talking to one another and, and kind of relating to them. Ask questions. Learn about them. You may be pleasantly surprised. It's amazing. All different ages. That's the beauty of that. And I think it's more important than just to maybe kind of make that assumption in our brains before we connect. I think we got a good grasp on it. I hope we did, Amanda. Sounds like you probably agree, right?
Yes, I agree.
Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you. Well, you hear that music. Thanks for calling. Thanks for giving us the great news about your dad and your mom. Hopefully they're going to be making it on the retreat, because they would definitely have been missed. This is Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. When we come back, we're going back to the phones talking about dress today. Do you dress for success? That's the question we're asking.
We know you like listening to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio, but have you thought about bringing them to your next event? No matter what type of event you're hosting, parish mission, conference, or retreat, trust Jerry and Debbie to make it come alive. Begin the process today of taking your presentation to the next level of success. For information on booking Jerry and Debbie, visit take2show.com, click on the J&D logo.
Hi, I'm Doug Keck, and this is an EWTN Bookmark Brief. I just had the pleasure of interviewing Patricia Sandoval on her book, Transfigured. Tell us, Patricia, this book which you wrote with Christine Watkins, what is it about?
It's my life story. It's my testimony of, being fooled by the whole safe sex, sexual education that I received as a child, and had 3 abortions. Thought I had aborted 3 sack of tissues, didn't think it was a baby, and I suffered tremendously after each abortion, what is called post-abortion syndrome, and then that's when I worked with Planned Parenthood, and I saw the truth. There's a lot of shame behind abortion. It's not easy telling your story, but with this book, I didn't hold back at all.
The book is Transfigured, Patricia Sandoval's escape from drugs, homelessness, and the back doors of Planned Parenthood. She wrote along with Christine Watkins, and it is available through the EWTN Religious Catalog. Thank you so much. Check it out, and look for the entire interview coming soon on EWTN's Bookmark Show. I'm Doug Keck. This has been a Bookmark Brief.
The wisdom of Mother Angelica.
I come from the other side of the tracks, see? My uncle used to have slot machines. Put 1 nickel in and it's emptied. And I brought him home in a bag, and my mother looked at me. Where did you get all that money? I said, I won them. You didn't win them. He fixed the machine. I didn't care if he fixed the machine or not,
EWTN. Live truth. Live Catholic.
Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, and you are always the ones who drive the program, and we are so grateful that you do. We've got full phone lines here, so please be patient. We're going to get to all of you, God willing, here, talking about dress in different circumstances, environments, how things have changed over the years, what's appropriate, what's not. Is there even a way to tell sometimes? Yeah, I think there are certain objective standards that we want to try to meet if we can. So we're getting your takes on this. And Samantha is next in Illinois, listening on WSFI. Samantha, welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. How are you?
Fine. How are you today?
Great. So thank you so much for calling.
Well, I'm calling because one time, well, more than once, but I remember in most particularly, receiving communion from a man who had his legs exposed and flip-flops on. And I thought, this just kind of ruins the moment for me. Here you are giving me the body and blood, soul and divinity of my Maker, of my Lord, and I just feel like he wasn't giving it the reverence that was called for. And I wonder if the priest looks at him and thinks the same, and I wonder if people, agree with me or don't agree with me. So I mentioned it. I have 4 children. I mentioned it to my youngest, and he thought, what's the big deal? And I thought, oh my gosh, dress really, if you, the way you look should give people an idea of how you feel about where you are and your situation. So I don't know. I mean, the previous caller said the same thing. The young kids don't feel as though that formal dresses is important as it used to be, but my goodness, if you're going to hand out the Eucharist, I feel like you should, take it, I don't know, right? Show it in your dress that you're taking it seriously.
Right.
So.
Yeah, Samantha, I think, I agree with you on this. And I think, a lot of things can be said about this. I think certainly the priests have to, if somebody's going to come forward to be a minister in the liturgy, I mean, it's one thing, if you're attending Mass and sitting in the pew, certainly we want to encourage respectful dress and all of that. But, if you're involved in the liturgy in some way, I really believe strongly as well that you really have to be dressed in an appropriate way. And I will say this,
yes.
And this is kind of surprising to me to see how some of the older generation have even lost that sense of reverence. And I say that because one of the places where I go to daily Mass frequently, I'll just be honest, there's a gentleman who reads at Mass sometimes, and he will go up in shorts and flip-flops and just this loose-fitting shirt that you can kind of almost see through. And I'm just thinking to myself, what is he thinking, first of all?
Right.
And secondly, why wouldn't the pastor just say, hey, you know what, we just really want to have a certain standard here, and I don't want to be critical of him or the pastor, but there has to be some kind of a standard that is met, Debbie, for those who are going to be in the sanctuary.
Right, absolutely. I just wanted to share something real quickly with you, Samantha. Typically, parishes have dress codes for EMs, Extraordinary Ministers of Holy Communion. They have dress codes. Maybe there was a shortage of EMs, and so they put the person in.
No.
And okay, there wasn't. Okay,
no,
so,
that's why they need half of what they have.
Okay, so but I would. This is just me. I'm a stickler about this because I used to do this at the parish level. Used to be a captain, and I used to help coordinate that. I would never let anybody serve if they were inappropriately dressed, and I actually had people very angry at me and walk out of the church and say, how dare you? I said, you know the dress code. This is not appropriate.
Right, and you have to stick up for that. And that is where I feel is this generation, we're so afraid of conflict. We're so afraid of hurting someone's feelings. Well, what about hurting God's feelings? And what about him? I think that's the one that's more important. So I think it's very important to stick up for what we believe is true and correct. And before I let you go, I was going to share one more thought.
Sure.
I thought the dress at funerals was getting a little bit too casual as well. And I'm thinking to myself, gosh, I would like to go to a resale shop and pick up a bunch of coats and say, as you're entering, if you're not dressed properly, the funeral director say, please put this on.
Right.
I mean, maybe that'd be too forward, maybe that'd be too weird, but wow, you go to a funeral, and if you're in a dress or a coat, people look at you like, what are you all dressed up for?
Yeah. I think it goes back to what Jerry said, though. I think just a lot of folks, whatever age we all are, I think sometimes it comes out of a slight ignorance. We have to be told. I mean, that's why we have invitations that at the bottom it'll say dress casual, or this is a formal affair, or please wear black and white. I mean, this is we lay it down these guidelines simply so that we all know how to adhere to them. Now, maybe I'm a typical Catholic schoolgirl. I always followed the rules, always. But you know what? I like rules. So maybe, am I alone on that or what?
Well, no, not at all. Samantha, bless you. Thank you for the call. You brought up some really good points here, and we appreciate you joining us. Just in closing on this particular call, I just want to mention in Matthew 22, the parable of the wedding banquet, where, the king, tells his servants to invite people into the marriage feast. And then, he goes in verse 11, but when the king came in and to look at the guests, he saw there a man who had no wedding garment and said, friend, how did you get in here without a wedding garment? And the king said, bind him hand and foot and throw him out. Well, we don't want to bind people hand and foot and throw them out of Mass necessarily, but it does show that even, Jesus in this parable is indicating that, in
there's
certain
proper attire.
And what is the preeminent wedding banquet? But the Mass,
right?
Liturgy, the
exactly.
Eucharist, so.
And let's state it up front, Jerry. We're not talking about if you can't afford, a 3-piece suit.
Right.
If you wore a jacket and slacks, but you still looked neat and clean, that's appropriate for you. That's the best you can do, and that's fine. I've gone to places where I'm probably, my clothes are probably the most inexpensive there, but it's the best I have right now.
And God's going to look at the heart,
Exactly. Yeah. So I just want to state that. Okay.
Thanks, Samantha.
Thank
Tamara
you, Samantha.
is next in Charleston, West Virginia. Tamara, listening to us on St. Paul Radio. Hello, Tamara. Thanks for calling Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
I was born in 1958, and I wish that people dressed like they used to. I just really do. I remember going to Mass and seeing the women with their hats and veils and gloves, and I miss that. I wish it were still present. And I like to watch Leave It to Beaver because I like to see what June is wearing.
The only problem is she used to vacuum with pearls on. I don't know if I could do that, Tamara. I don't know.
Well, she sure looked pretty.
She did. No, but I agree with you. My husband feels the same way. He wishes men would dress like men and appropriately, and women would dress like women. And yeah, I feel the same way too. Go ahead.
And now another thing, almost daily in the media we're hearing about sexual harassment. For the common good of all women, I wish all women would dress like a lady, act like a lady, and look like a lady. And I think we wouldn't have this problem as much as we do.
Yeah, it's a good point. But I will tell you, though, like I said at the beginning, I just have to say, I was actually a victim of sexual harassment when I was very young, 22 years old, and I dressed very, very modestly. I mean, so modestly, but I was still, and so it's there, and it's very emotionally painful, and it's shocking, and especially when you're young and you don't know much of the world, and it's kind of startling. But I agree with you, though, we shouldn't be putting it out there, if you will, suggesting it or luring it, or even, somehow inviting it. And I think that's where you were going with that, Tamara.
Yeah, I was, because if someone else is dressing provocatively, it can affect another woman, because there's these images and these ideas, and that might have been part of the reason you were violated. I don't know.
That's actually a really good point. I don't mean to interrupt you, but that's a really good point. That's almost exactly why it happened. That's very interesting. I just had an aha moment. Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah. Very, very profound words.
Well, and I would say, tailing on that, Tamara and Debbie, the way that we dress, I think, says a lot about what we think of ourselves and how we want to be perceived. And there are sometimes, literally, this really causes me a problem. You go to Mass, you see a family, mom and dad are there, and they've got the kids, and the boy is dressed like a slob, and the girl is dressed like, I don't want to say it, like she's out working on the street, when she's not at Mass. And I'm thinking, first of all, Dad, what are you thinking? Letting your daughter, first of all, dress like that and come to Mass like that. But anyway, be that as it may, I think how we appear outwardly says a lot about how we want to be perceived and maybe how we perceive ourselves. Maybe that's a more foundational issue,
right,
Debbie and Tamara, is, the self-worth, the self-dignity. If we perceive ourselves to be worthy and have the value that we do, then maybe outwardly we would want to appear in a manner that's in accordance with that. I don't know.
Right. But in defense of parents, I will tell you, we want our children to be at Mass so badly. We will almost do anything to get them there, or allow anything to get them there. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but I know that that happens with some parents, because I have friends who have said, listen, I'm just so grateful that my children are in the pews. And so, it's a real delicate situation. But Tamara, you bring up some really good points. I'm going to have to process this and pray about this a little more, because I literally just had an aha moment. So thank you for that. It actually helped me, and I appreciate it. Great call. Great contribution.
Well, thank you very much. God bless you all. Thank you for your ministry.
God bless you, Tamara. Thank you so much. Yeah, and it's a lot of it is about formation, and we need to be formed no matter what age we are. If we've missed out on some catechesis or a solid religious education, that can always be recovered little by little, maybe in a remedial way, or maybe we had great religious formation, and we want to just foster that and bolster that. One great way to do that is EWTN's publication, the National Catholic Register, and we just really encourage you folks. It's online. It's a print publication. It comes out weekly. If you go to ncregister.com, you can get full details about that. But you just know that it's when it arrives every week, it's going to be covering the world from a Catholic perspective, and really helping in that ongoing faith formation for people of all ages.
Right. I must be thinking about my Catholic school days. That's why I love uniforms. I never had to worry about anything.
Well,
see, you went to public school.
Yeah, but it does. Uniforms do eliminate that problem. At least for school kids.
I just realized I never worried about anything growing up. That's interesting. Okay. More power to the Catholic school system. I love it. Okay, Michelle, Jupiter, Florida. I think, Michelle, let me see. Yes, Michelle, you are the recipient of our Virtual Patience Award. Way to go, Michelle. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What are you going to do with it?
Thank you so much.
Okay, never mind. You don't have to tell us what you're going to do with it. Okay. How are you? What's your take on this?
I'm great. No, I love this. I love this conversation. I have a degree in fashion merchandising, and I worked as a buyer. And I do tend in my everyday life to dress maybe a little bit more trendy. However, in the workplace, I definitely always dress, in a skirt and a blouse or a dress. And I do appreciate through the years that things have gotten a little bit more relaxed in terms of not being so restrictive, pantyhose and a blazer. I live in Florida, so, we are a little bit more casual than a lot of places. But I also tend to be the most dressed up in the office on a regular basis. So while I like some of the restrictive dress codes, I like that they've gone away. But on the other hand, I think the pendulum has swung too far in the other direction. I don't want to see people's feet in flip-flops at work or shorts. I just think that casual outward dressing lends itself to a casual attitude. So I tend to dress very professional, on a daily basis in my work environment. And I, like Tamara, I agree. I wish that people would dress, more, more appropriately to church in general. And I think here in Florida, we have a big problem with, like moms in shorts and, just low-cut things that I think are not appropriate at all. And I'm younger than a lot of these moms. I'm 50 years old, and so my parish tends to be, for the most part, conservative. But when I've gone to other churches, I'm surprised at what I see adult women, some of them in their 60s, wearing. And, I have a daughter that's 18, and, I always bring an extra wrap with me because I don't like exposed arms and definitely no cleavage. So I make sure that it's always respectful. I'm also an EM at my parish, so we have no problems with people dressing appropriately. Everyone's always dressed very, very nice. But I've traveled a lot through the years, and when I go to cathedrals and churches in Europe, if you're not dressed properly, they'll hand you
That's true.
something to cover up with. And I love that they, a lot of these churches, especially, in Venice and St. Mark's Square, these are tourist attractions. And, some of the people are coming through are obviously, not Catholic or not faithful, and they just want to see the beautiful structure. So in that case, they don't know what the standards are. So I love that they put that out there and let them know that that's what's expected. But even we lived in Dallas for a few years, and one of the churches had a big sign up as you entered, and they, had a picture, and they would show someone with a skirt that was too short with a circle and a line through it. And
wow.
I wish that we would go back to really just putting out what the standards are, because, when you believe that you're in God's house, if you really were going to invite him over to your house, you would dress in your best. And so I just think that people sometimes aren't cognizant of the fact that they're in God's house. It's like they're
right.
I don't know, maybe they're there because they're
very true.
obligated to, or they're just not aware that, the way they're dressing is sending off the wrong signals. But,
well, Michelle,
I tend to be, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I think we've touched upon this a little bit before, but I think there's a lot of ignorance out there. But I think it's a teaching moment. And like you said, if those signs are put up, like Debbie and I are going to be going out to our retreat, and then Saturday we're taking the trip to the Shrine of the Most Blessed Sacrament. And I'll guarantee you, they have signs up, all over the place out there. No shorts, no this, no that. And see, for a lot of people, I think Debbie and Michelle, if maybe this is the first time they're really, pondering this on a deep level. You know, maybe they're sort of stopped in their tracks by a sign like that, and they say, well, why would they have these restrictions? And then they start thinking about that, and maybe it brings them around to the realization of whose house they are entering when they're going to church.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it could be an epiphany moment for a lot of people who may not really have had that, you know, that sense before.
A lot of restaurants have the dress codes posted. A lot of them do. You know, no T-shirts, no what, you know. So, and you have to abide by it. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with at least, you know, posting it, if you will, so everybody can be aware. And like you said, Jerry, we can you know, educate ourselves on what the proper protocol is. Michelle, I think that is a great call that you contributed with. I just want to say, if it's okay with you, I'm going to borrow your phrase that you're trendy. I love that. I don't want to be boring or conservative anymore. I'm going to be trendy. I just decided that.
Yeah.
Thank
you, Michelle, for your call.
Yep.
And you know what? You could be trendy and still be reverent and respectful.
Yes, Michelle is. I'm going to be like Michelle.
Yeah, very inspiring, Michelle, what you shared with us. Thank you so much. We have another Michelle we'll get to right after Nancy in Boston. Nancy, thank you for calling Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. You are on the air. How are you, Nancy?
Good. How are you? This is my first time calling. I love your show.
Oh,
Thank
thanks.
you.
Well, we're glad that you took the time to call. What are your thoughts on this?
Oh, thoughts. I miss how ladies used to dress. I was just watching the weather yesterday, and, you know, the other ladies are dressing like they're going out for drinks at work, like the cocktail dresses, and just cleavage and too low, and just the skirts and the, you know, showing the cleavage is just, I am all for modesty, and while you're at work, it should be dressed appropriately.
No argument for me. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me either.
It's so true. It's so true. And I don't understand why there is such a resistance to it. I don't get it. To me, it makes no sense.
I don't either.
Yeah. It's like, put a shirt on, put pants on, look appropriate, clean yourself up as best you can. I mean, I don't get it. I'm really puzzled by it. Maybe you could help me, Nancy or Jerry. I mean, I don't know why it's been, because I will tell you, people are, they can get argumentative, they can push back, they get insulted.
Well, it's the sin. Right. It's like, you know, I can dress how I want. I'm coming to church. I'm like, right, exactly what you said. It's like the reverence. Like the Catholic Church commands, right, our attention. Like you're not at some party.
True.
That's true. Yeah, and a lot of it comes down to common sense and being able to think critically. How many times, Debbie, on this show we talked about, you know, our ability to think. What I mean by think critically is just think through a situation, think logically. Maybe that's another way to put that. You know, if I'm going to the gym, I'm going to dress a lot differently than I am if I'm going to work, and a lot differently than I am if I'm going to go to mass.
It just made me laugh.
What?
Can you imagine if someone had a suit and tie on while they were on the elliptical at the gym?
Yeah.
I mean, you would go, "What's wrong with you? That's not how you're supposed to dress," wouldn't you?
Yeah, it would be very out of place.
Yeah, maybe we should start something. You know.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, executive gym or something like that.
Exactly.
All
anyway,
right.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Nancy.
Thanks, Nancy.
We want to get to Michelle in Haflet, Texas, listening on Guadalupe Radio. Michelle, welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. How are you?
Michelle.
Hello, Michelle?
Michelle, did you walk away from the phone?
I hope not.
Michelle.
Do we have Michelle there?
No?
We'll check back with her.
Oh, we had 2 Michelles today. That was pretty cool. Can I just say something real fast? Look Back Friday is coming up next on Dr. Ray with Dr. Is In. I love that. Look Back Friday. He goes back and revisits calls and adds comments. It's just so cool. What a great show. So make sure you stay tuned in all day long, but you know, especially for the Dr. Is In with Dr. Ray Guarendi. Okay, who's up next?
Looks like Liz.
Cool. Hi, Liz. Oh, Liz I know you gave it to me, from Kingman, Arizona. Hi, Liz. I'm listening on EWTN.com. What's cooking, Liz? Hello? Uh-oh.
Hello?
There you are.
There you are.
Hi, Liz.
Okay.
Hi. Yeah, my name is Liz, and thank you for taking my call. I enjoy your show. I just have a couple comments on dress. I'm 59 and still in the workforce, but I believe in dressing appropriately for whatever your job is. I work in the medical field, and I'm a social worker, and I go out to see people in their homes. So I wear something maybe a little bit more sturdy than high heels and pantyhose. But when I go to church, I dress what I consider wearing, as the one lady said, dressing my best. I got married about 3 years ago, and it was a second marriage, and we got married in the church. But my brother-in-law showed up, and we love him dearly, but he showed up in jeans. My husband was very offended.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, this is my wedding. This is a church. And he's not Catholic, but he said, you don't dress like that when you go to church. So I just thought that was an interesting comment, because even to this day, he will still bring up how my brother-in-law dressed.
Right. What did your brother-in-law say back to him?
He basically said, well, you guys got married in the summertime, and
it's hot out here.
Yeah, it's hot out here. Well, yeah, we're in Arizona. You know how that is.
Yeah.
And so it's like, yeah, I get it, but still. And because, everybody else was dressed in, nice slacks or suit or something like that. And so it was a little strange. Here in our parish, though, during the summer, our pastor puts in the bulletin expectations of a dress code. Unfortunately, that's about as far as it gets sometimes, which is a shame.
Well, yeah, Liz, I was going to ask you, Liz, if your brother-in-law was practicing his faith, and you say he's not a Catholic, and I don't know if he goes to church
at all.
Well,
my brother-in-law is Catholic, but he hasn't practiced for many years.
Okay.
My husband is not Catholic, but we did get married in the church. But he has certain expectations. He grew up in the Methodist church, and so back when he was growing up, he dressed a certain way, and when he's gone to church with me, a lot of the times it's been, for holidays and stuff, so people tend to dress up a little more. So he was expecting people to dress similarly,
right?
For our wedding, and he was kind of shocked when my brother-in-law didn't.
And you always remember it, right? You do. You remember it.
He does.
Yeah.
He does.
I can relate. You look at my wedding video, there's, and I love everybody that came. I love them dearly. But even my mom goes, it looks like everybody's going to a summer beach party. It was, it's just, but it's Arizona, but yeah. Thank you, Liz. God bless you. I love Kingman, Arizona. Love it. It's part of the Diocese of Phoenix.
Yeah. Thank you, Liz. And as always, I'm looking up at the clock right now. We've got 30 seconds till that music starts.
Don't look at the screen.
Yeah,
Don't look.
I know.
Oh, my goodness. Almost a half a dozen.
Gary and Karen and Teresa and Mary Louise and Jennifer.
We're sorry.
It happens almost every day on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, for which we are extremely grateful for your participation. Debbie and I, we could spew a lot of words. Doesn't mean we'd have a lot to say.
Yeah.
But thankfully, you're there with us and for us each and every day, and we thank you for that. And coming up tomorrow, we got the best of Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, and we're
Maxims.
We're gonna re-air the show on your motivational Maxims. Monday, how to keep the retreat experience going. Debbie, we want people to please say a special prayer for the Stand Tall Retreat, which
please do
starts officially, formally with the arrival of people this afternoon.
3:00 today, Divine Mercy Hour. So if you could remember us and start praying, we would really appreciate it. This has been a great show. More calls are still coming in. You can keep the conversation going on Facebook. You can email us. It's at take2@ewtn.com.
Yep, that's right.
Any which way you want to keep it going. We love you guys. Thank you for making this show so special.
Yeah, again, thank you for all of your participation this week. We'll be back live with you on Monday. Say your prayers for us. We are always praying for you. Have a beautiful and blessed weekend, and we'll do the same.